It's been a while?
It's been a minute. Yeah.
Wait, what? You had an interview today already?
No, like real work.
This is not real. No, this is not. Do you know who else?
This is fun.
Can you believe that they actually let me do this?
Yeah. Can you? Yeah. That's like it's amazing.
You know who else we share this studio with? I don't care. I'm going to tell you.
Tell me.
Yes.
Toby Morse from HBO.
Oh my God! How did he know? Nicki Minaj.
No way.
Yep. We share the studio with Nicki Minaj.
Wow.
Who would? I can't believe that they let me do that. And at any given moment, she could come in and be like,
"No, she cannot."
Yeah, she can.
Really?
Yes.
So it's happening 3 weeks from today?
Let me ask you a question. When you share a studio with Nicki Minaj, do you have to? Are you guys like in a group chat about like the decor and like let's say you want to change out one of the photos back there? Like how do you decide
I would
that?
just put photos of me up everywhere. I would try and hide little things around where when she does an interview, you would have to look at me. Are you a headphones guy or not a headphones guy?
I'm not a headphones guy.
You're not?
Nah.
You don't like to hear the sound of your own voice?
No, I don't think so.
I love it. It's my favorite.
That's why I stopped making music. I couldn't stand the sound of my own voice.
You're the best. You're the best harmonizer in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Harmonize with this. Okay, do a real one.
Okay. Is that good?
No.
Okay, sorry. I told you.
Gabe Saporta, welcome to Amp Radio.
Thank you for having me, bro.
This is a real radio station, I promise.
It is a real radio station. You know how you know it's a real radio station?
How?
You walk in, and it's very quiet. It absorbs all the sound.
I thought it was, there's security everywhere. So that's how, when I walked in, I was like, they think I'm not supposed to be here.
You do have valet. I thought that was very nice.
It's pronounced valet.
Yeah. They almost didn't give it to me, by the way, when I checked in. They're like, you can go park there. I'm like, Morgan told me there was going to be valet. He's like, all right, here's this blue little ticket for you.
and guess what? Everything here is free. Did you go get a coffee yet?
No. We free coffee?
Everything is free.
So disappointed.
Yeah, everything is free. For real. They won't, you don't have to. Here's the thing that's not free. There's like a whole cafeteria out there, but it's a real check yourself out sort of situation. I'm going to try and steal something. But, we are.
You're going to try? You haven't tried yet?
I haven't tried yet. I feel like I'm just testing my.
Maybe I should go headphones. Maybe I'm too far from that. How do you know what my level is at?
You sound great.
Do I sound good?
Yeah.
Hey. Oh my God, I sound even better. I can't believe I've been putting this off for so long.
Yeah, it's way better. It really gets me in the thing. Having a conversation with anybody, I'm like, let's get this over with. But as soon as you put headphones on, I can talk forever.
It's true, because you're a little far from me, so I felt like I had to yell, and now that I can hear you in my ear, I just feel like a little more relaxed.
Do we look good? How's
Always.
Everybody look?
Always look great.
I feel like this is the worst I've ever looked in my life. And I'm being 100% serious.
What do you think is contributing to that? Is it like a health thing, sleeping thing? What's
I
going
cut
on?
my own hair.
I cut my own hair after my last haircut, by the way. Shane, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. But let's talk about that, okay?
I don't like sitting.
You always cut your own hair?
No.
Okay.
But I don't like sitting in a spot for so long. This is going to kind of, you know how you just apologize to your hairdresser?
Yeah.
This is going to offend some hairdressers.
Okay.
I have hairdressers that are like, this is an art, and it's just like and I get, yes, I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, it is. I can't do some of the things that they could do. But the way that I want my haircut is, it's trash. Like, I don't want that. So I bought this shears off of Amazon, and I just did it myself in the sink, except the back, because I can't see the back. So that's just what's happening.
This is the first time you ever cut your own hair?
This is the second time.
What about during COVID? What did you do during COVID?
I buzzed my head.
Oh,
I guess that's
right.
cutting your own hair.
That is, yeah.
In perspective.
Yeah.
That is cutting your own hair. Is this the first time you cut your own hair?
No, I used to cut my hair all the time. Then I found Shane, who's amazing, at the Cut By on Sunset. Great guy. And he started cutting my hair. And then during COVID, everything shut down. So I started cutting it myself. And I'm like, oh, this isn't so hard. And then little by little, after a few months, it just looked terrible. And I saw Shane on the street, and he he thought I was cheating on him or something, like I was going to someone else. And he takes one look at me, he's like, oh, you've just been cutting your own hair. I'm like, yep.
It's a delicate situation, because
It's hard.
that's how I know that I look that bad. When I first did it, I was like, this is great and this is easy. Give it 2 weeks and I look like total shit. I look like dog shit. I don't know. Maybe I've gotten smaller or fatter or something, but every time I look at myself, I'm like, this is the worst I've ever looked.
Really?
Yeah, I continue. You know how some people get more handsome as they get older? Gabe Saporta, welcome to Amp Radio. I get worse as I get older.
What else do you think can be contributing to that?
This? You want some?
No, I quit that.
Yeah, right.
I'll hit other people's. I'll buy them for people.
That's why I was saying, do you want some of this?
By the way, you have to understand something. I never smoked, right? And like maybe once in a while out, I'd have a cigarette or something. Like I really didn't smoke. And then everyone started doing those and I got hooked on them.
That is exactly the same thing. Well, I did drugs, and the best thing about drugs is you can smoke unlimited cigarettes. But as soon as I stopped doing drugs, I stopped smoking. And then these came, and I was like, well, I need something to do. And so now I just do this. And this is so fucked because it tastes
amazing.
Dude, this is matcha flavor.
Wow.
It's absolutely unbelievable.
Can I hit it?
Yes, that's why I was throwing this to you. Here. If they want to sponsor me, I'm more than happy to do reads for them. And tell everybody that it's bad to do this.
Wow.
I know.
It feels like I'm drinking matcha.
I know, it's incredible. But it's literally for kids, right? Like that is, it right. Looks like, and it tastes.
It looks like a toy.
You want to hold on to that?
No, I'm good.
I know you don't.
But it was a bad throw.
I don't know. I'm not apt for sport. You know, growing up, where there are like there's a couple types of Jews. By the way, we usually start this with a prayer.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Midtown. Welcome to AMP Radio. Gabe Saporta, a businessman.
I'm not a businessman. I'm a business.
That's
man.
Well, that's what Wikipedia says. You should go in and change it and put the comma there.
You got to put the comma.
Gabe Saporta, businessman. Also Jay-Z.
Good. I'm glad you got that reference.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We're the same age. We grew up listening to the same
I know, it's so sad.
stuff.
Sometimes I just say lines of songs around these kids and they just look at me like, what?
How?
Like around, Descendants came on and I'm like, so Descendants? He's like, I think I heard of it.
Are you guys scared of Gabe?
Not at all.
Sewell's really scared of me.
Yeah, I could tell on the way in that you're
Sewell's kind of new. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because sometimes I see Sewell like with his friends and he's like very talkative and outgoing, and then like when he's around me, he's just like,
Well, you're boss.
Yeah, I don't think of myself as the boss. It's weird, but I guess I am the boss.
You are the boss.
Yeah.
And I think it's always a little bit intimidating, regardless of how you feel about yourself, around the people.
You're the boss too.
And you want to know what?
Yeah.
Some of the people that work with me, terrified of me.
Are they?
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm the least terrifying person. I could never do anything to anybody.
Yeah.
I barely can run my own life.
Right. I guess it's a fine line because like as like a quote unquote boss, like I like when people fuck with me, but if they fuck with me too hard, I get pissed off. It's like you really have to know the fine line.
That's a scary thing to hear. That's a scary thing to hear as a person that knows you.
I guess it's about like the energy behind it, the vibe. If like the vibe is just like, hey, we're relaxed, we're fucking around. If the vibe is like, I'm going to try to pull you down because you're the boss, I don't like that. Right? Which is like, no one does that to me here, but people have done that to me in the past, and I really don't like that.
I mean, I think in general, as a person, when people are like, when you're fucking around, like, it's a good thing to fuck around, but also when we're trying to get work done, or when they're fucking with you,
yes,
then it's very, very, I don't like that either.
Yeah. The getting interrupted trying to get work done is hard.
Last time I saw you, I don't even think we did an intro. I think we just did a prayer.
Always got to pray. That's the thing about Jews. They have a prayer for everything. There's a prayer for going to the bathroom.
Did you say it when you left?
I can still say it.
Do you know what it is?
I do know the whole thing, yeah.
You know the bathroom prayer?
Yeah, of course.
Do you say it before or after or during?
After you use the bathroom.
To say
after you wash your hands.
To say thank you.
The prayer like talks about like everything. First of all, everything in Judaism has like 4 levels. There's like the literal level, the allegorical level, like the quote unquote legal. I don't know what it is, but and the last level is like the mystical level, right? So the literal definition of the prayer to go to the bathroom, it talks about like opening the channels of your body so that they don't close, and it said if they were even closed for a minute, you would die. Like,
it sounds like a literal level.
That's the literal level. The secret level is that it has 45 words in it, which is connected, I think, to the word Adam, which is the numerical value of 45. Like in Hebrew, you know that every letter is also a number.
You're a good Jewish.
I'm a good Jewish.
I am a bad one.
You're not. It's no good or bad. It's no good or bad. But you can always. There's always more to learn. Which is nice.
Did I ever tell you the story about how I got bar mitzvahed when I was 28?
No, I'd love to hear it. When you were 28?
I was 28.
Did you get bar mitzvahed at 13 too, or no?
No.
Okay,
my parents were like, "Do you want to get bar mitzvahed, or do you just want to keep smoking weed?" And I was like, "I'd rather do that." My sister got.
Usually, parents like, "Do you want to get bar mitzvahed? Do you want to go on a trip somewhere? Maybe go to Israel?"
Did you do the birthright?
I didn't. I did not do birthright. I was not like religious at all until I was, and I don't even consider myself religious. I consider myself.
You're like a spiritual guy. You like to know about this stuff. Yeah. I also do too, but I forget everything. Like I forget everything.
That's why you have to always have reminders. I'll tell you two things. So first of all, when I started like into spirituality and it's like learning things, I didn't go into Judaism. I looked at other things. And then as I learned more about my own religion, I was like, oh, all this stuff is here. Like there's no like, it's just like an energy. That's the idea of the God in Judaism is just like an energy of the universe that you can connect with, right?
Yes.
And I'm like into energy and vibes. I'm a Libra, so I'm all about the vibes.
Have you always been like that?
I've always kind of been about the vibes, but I wasn't aware of it, So I think I always responded to like how I feel and what the things are around me, and usually that was negative. So I was always getting into trouble in school, getting into fights because I was very sensitive to energies and I didn't know how to deal with that. So then as I got older and learned to manage those energies better, my sensitivity to it, then I just started learning about the energetic system. And then I'm just like, oh, Judaism has like an amazing understanding of connecting to energies in different ways. We got very deep very fast, bro. I thought we were going to be a mean thing. Okay,
this is how it goes in here.
Okay, great.
We don't have to. There's no. Look, how many interviews do you do a year?
Like none.
Well, this is going to be the best one, and maybe this will be the best. It already is the best one. Yeah. Wait, you were talking about when you were a little kid. Did you started Midtown when you were how old?
I was actually 18 when I started Midtown. Maybe 17, 18, 17.
You had already had sex by then.
No, I was a virgin until I got married.
How much money do you have right now?
I got to check under my mattress. But
yeah, so you started. Were you like you were a bad kid?
I was a bad kid. Yeah, I was getting. It's not that I was bad-hearted. I just don't like rule. I don't accept rules that I don't understand. So for me, if someone tells me a rule, I really want to understand it, and I'm open to hearing about it. But if I don't understand it, like I'm pretty much an anti-institution guy overall. I think that the bigger the institution, the more tendency it has towards corruption.
Well, welcome to Amazon Studios.
Well, so I agree. I agree with you. I think also like people that run big institutions know that, and they're aware of that. And I think that there's also a difference when you create the institution and then you leave and then it gets like, who's controlling it, right? You have this big kind of thing, and like how do you control it? So I'm an independent guy. I have an independent company, but I'm not anti like kill these things. Like I think sometimes you have to work with them, right? I think when I was younger, I was more anti-establishment, hardcore.
I think that it's there was when I was growing up, there was two types of people. There was one that was like, I'm going to be into sports and I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do this route. I'm going to do this whole route. Or there was I'm going to get into music and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I chose that route. Did you know when you were a little kid, you're like, I know what, was this the path that you chose? Or was this sort of, when you started Midtown, you just kind of rode that wave? And what got you into doing that in the first place? Were your parents supportive of you? Like, did they want you to do
definitely not
else?
Supportive. I think it got chosen for me. I think that I wasn't born in America. I came here. I was an illegal immigrant for like years. So it's like also generational. Like my grandfather escaped the Holocaust, right? So his family was like killed, ended up in Uruguay. I grew up in Uruguay, then like a military dictatorship takes over. My dad's like, we got to get out of here. And, we come to America and we come on a tourist visa and never leave. And then, my dad can't get a job because he doesn't have papers. So we're like really poor, living in Queens, and I'm going to a Jewish school for free. This is why I even know my Judaism. So it's like me and two Russian kids who escaped the Kremlin are going to this Jewish school, this upper middle class Jewish school for free. And we don't fit in because we're like the immigrant kids who don't speak English, you know? And then my dad finally gets papers like 10 years later, fast forward 10 years later, he has to go to medical school all over again just because you're a doctor in some bullshit third world country doesn't mean they're going to let you practice medicine in America. So he goes to medical school again, becomes a doctor. We move to New Jersey. Then I'm still in like the same kind of school. I'm going to that school, but all of a sudden I'm no longer the immigrant. I'm like I can't use the word, but I'm like the kid from Queens who talks like he's Italian, he's Jewish. I'm like wearing a gold chain and I have a mullet and I'm like in upper middle class New Jersey, you know, where it's like a little fancier and like they used to call me Party Patrol pants because I wore like these neon Z Cavaricci jeans, which is actually very apropos. Then I started Cobra Starship, but
which we'll get into.
Yeah,
but this was Midtown was obviously first.
But before Midtown, so this is what happened. So what I was saying was, I just didn't fit in, and when I found music, I just felt like, oh, cool. Here's a bunch of other people who don't fit in, and then like,
well, this was before the internet, right? Like this was all, or was it during the birth of internet?
This was like by the mid '90s. I was a teenager, and I was on the internet super early. And the thing about the internet that people kind of, it's not they don't understand, but when you were early days of the internet, everyone, it was all music people.
That's all it was. And I think that's a really important thing to bring to this conversation because it was all music that kind of, at least to my knowledge, was all sort of the genre that we kind of leaned into, and that's how we found each other. It was like we were fortunate enough to go to school where we had to find our friends, and then we could find our friends on the internet because they like the same type of shit.
Yeah, and I mean, I was lucky if there's like 2 or 3 kids I could talk to about music in school, and everyone's, you know, and I was like taking the bus into the city, like going to Generation Records or even Tower Records back then used to have a basement with just like 7 inches, you know, and you're just digging through, like you just have a thirst to like find this new music, this different stuff that's just not available everywhere. And like, you really have to like look for physical things. And then you would find stuff and then you want to tell people about it, but there's like no one to talk to about it. So you go on the internet and you can talk to people around the country. Like you might be the only kid in your town who knows this band, but then you go on the internet and you just find like 1,000 other kids that like the same kind of music, you know? So like the first people on the internet were like music people trying to find each other, right? And so I think a lot of the stuff that ended up happening on the internet happened because of like, and it was actually really punk rock. It was a lot of punk rock people.
That's what I'm saying is like, that's how I found my people. That's how I found everybody that I still know to this day. Like it was very, very similar. Like in Tucson, we came from Queens, moved to Tucson. I sounded different. I looked different. So I had to kind of find the people that I fit in with.
Why would Jews from Queens move to Tucson?
You want to know what?
Yeah.
It was because my dad had a food ingredient business, and he had an office in Flushing that was just out of a kitchen.
That's where I grew up in Flushing. That's crazy.
You're my dad.
I'm your dad.
And so like he wanted to get a bigger space. And so, you know, to get a bigger space in New York, it was impossible. And so he moved to Tucson out of all places. And there was basically like 2.
But why? How did you choose Tucson?
I think that they just fucking hated the cold. And so they were like, let's go to the place where it is the opposite of that. But it was a really strange thing to bring like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid from New York to Tucson, where it was just like cowboys and cholos. And I'm like very small, very Jewy. You know, I sound different. Yeah. My mom is like the epitome of like New York Jew lady. So everybody, you know, they're just, it's not that she's mean, she just says what she does, but everybody else there was like families, and they did this thing where they like, you know, they just had like a much more family oriented vibe in that place. And so I was very, very different. And that's how I got to fit into that scene. And I think that you know, it's really strange. That's where I met, I think our mutual friend, Andre Samos and Darren Samos, like that's like, which is this very cool thing. I told him that I was interviewing you, and he was like, ask him this question, and I have a question to ask you. Do you want to know it?
Maybe in a little bit.
But okay, so let's go.
I'm older.
Yeah, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit.
Anyway, so you were talking about in college. Did I choose to do music or what? So what happened was, before Midtown, I had a band called Humble Beginnings, which was like a big local Jersey band that I did throughout high school, and I was the bass player of that band. I was kind of like almost like the Pete Wentz of that band. I was like the bass player but like people knew me more than the singer.
Right.
And I think that caused a problem with me and the singer, and I ended up getting kicked out of that band.
Did he wanted to be known? He wanted to be like the front person.
Yeah, and I think that goes also to what we were talking about before. Like, I really don't like when people try to tear each other down. Like, to me, like, I'm like, I always wanted the spotlight, but I wanted to be in the spotlight with my friends, you know?
Right.
And like, I was very like, I'm outgoing. I love people, you know, I'm aggressive.
I think that that's a really honest thing to say. A lot of people don't say that. A lot of people are like, I'm just cool. I don't want to do this thing. But I think it's a really,
I wanted attention.
Dude, I think it's like an admirable thing to be like, I wanted to do this, but I wanted to do it with the people that I liked.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you want, like, no one goes on stage in front of thousands of people if they don't have something to prove or want attention in some way, right? It doesn't have to be selfish. It doesn't have to be attention that's focusing on something that's superficial or trivial. You can want attention because you have a message that you want to share with people, right? Or because you created something that you feel passionate about and you want to share it. Like, that's a great reason to want attention. There's nothing wrong with that. But
I think it's just the first time I've heard it worded like that in an honest way.
Yeah,
I think people kind of skirt around that thing. I feel like people skirt around that a lot. You kind of just came out and you're like, I did want this and I wanted to do it here. And I really like that.
I think people like, I don't know what happened, but I think people, I don't have any qualms about that because I'm an immigrant. I was here illegally. I had nothing. So I don't ever want to have nothing again. And if anyone wants to argue with me about that, I'll argue with them all day about it. You know?
Do you feel like that's why you've worked so fucking hard to be where you're at right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I always felt like when I was younger, I felt like I didn't have, so I didn't want to be poor anymore, you know? And I think that, you know, there's no, you know, it's okay to be poor, you know, like I don't begrudge that, but there's no, you don't get a prize for that.
Yeah. I think when you come from it, you're probably like, I would like to do not this.
Especially like really poor. It's like one thing, you know, like, you know, we didn't have a support system here, like, you know, and the programs, the great programs that exist now to support people weren't there back then when I was a kid.
I mean, it was, you know, hearing that, and then the last time I saw you was at the Forum, right? So what a fucking giant step from what you just told me.
To be fair, you know, it's like you're saying we were supporting a band that was
okay. Now you're doing now. Look, you played the, you know, you played.
I did play the Forum.
You did play the Forum, and it was really wonderful to see you and your family and to watch, you know, Midtown's one of my favorite bands. Like, it always has been. I've told you that since the moment that I met you, and I'll tell everybody. I really do think that you guys wrote, are you still? What are you doing? You guys are putting out covers now, right?
Yeah,
is that what's happening?
Yeah. I hate the word covers. We're putting out. We recorded songs that influenced us. Yeah, and we're sharing them with people.
Are you? And that's. Okay, I skipped over a lot of stuff.
So much.
I skipped over a lot of stuff. But is that when you were with your family, were your kids like so proud of you then, or were they just like, that's
no? My kid is heckling me. He's like, "Dad, you're poop. You suck. I do better shows than you." Like, yeah.
He was almost as tall as me.
He's a tall kid.
Yeah, he's almost as tall as me.
He's tall.
He was fucking running around. But that's a really, I mean.
By the way, my kid is 6 for everyone listening. Yeah.
But also, like, what a wild thing to go from that to that. Did you ever, for a second, think that was going to be your life trajectory?
No, I didn't really have much conception about it. I mean, like, going back to how this was, I just was like really passionate about music. I was inspired, like passionate about the scene, and it was small. Like, the scene was small. Like, for me, I went to see Avail at Coney Island High when I was a kid. And I wasn't like the biggest Avail fan, and you know, but I like them, cool. But it was like super crazy hot in there, and I was outside like a couple of songs before the show ended, and you know what I was really inspired by was just like everyone else there was just like, wow, this is my favorite band ever. I know every word to every song, and I just remember being on St. Mark's Place, and the doors of Coney Island High opening, and just like a cloud of mist comes out when the doors open. It was a cold day, and it was just like cold night, and they just open the doors and it's just like, bam, all these people come out. I'm like, this is what I want. I just want to go to any city in the country and just have 400 kids come out. I don't need to be the biggest band in the world, but for the kids that love us, I want us to be the most important thing in their lives, you know? Or most important band in their lives.
When you were playing, did you feel when you were playing back then, how many years? What was it?
20 years ago.
20
Midtown was
years
20
ago.
years ago.
20
yeah.
years ago. Like, did you feel, because this is the way that I felt that there was no distinguishing thing about our generation, and there was like, you had the 60s, 70s, 80s, and you could be like, each one of those things looked very, very different in my head. And I was like, they had that, they had this. When we were growing up and we were having this music, I felt like it wasn't, I feel like it was just like a lull thing. I didn't feel like, and when it, like LUL, like I thought it was nothing distinguishable about it. And I was like, this is something that I love personally, and it's not going to really leave a mark on the culture. And
You
now,
felt that about the bands you listened to?
I felt that about me, and
about
like
yourself.
all of the things that we were doing, I thought it was really important, but I couldn't see how it would have impacted the world 20 years later, which is a silly thing to think. But now looking back, especially with all this stuff that's happened in the last, like, I don't know what, like 5 years,
Yeah.
with like pop punk being like mainstream now, like emo being like a mainstream thing. Like, is that fucking weird you out that you were there from the start and where it is right now? And what do you fucking think? Why do you think that is? Why do you think we are where we are with this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I actually don't think I was there from the start. Like, I think it's a small part of a bigger continuum. Which, you're talking about, the music that is in a sense, counter culture in some way, right? It's not the mainstream music. It's created by people who don't find anything, that speaks to them in what's available in the mainstream. And then, so they look elsewhere. They look underground. It's underground music, right? And I think it's funny. I read an article once when I was a kid, because this has happened many times before. Like when I was a kid, the Offspring and Rancid were really big, and it almost became so big that it became a caricature. Like I remember, like Rancid were on the cover of Details magazine, which is like a men's it's like GQ. I don't know if it still exists anymore. And I think that was like the jump the shark moment, And it was like, but I remember reading this article, and they're talking about how Offspring was like so big, and they're playing this big amphitheater, and they're a punk band. And like, what's the dude's name from the Offspring? Noodles. That's the guitar player. I think the singer. I don't know. But he said something like there was like a beach ball. Someone brought a beach ball to the Offspring show, and he's like, "What is this? A Bon Jovi concert?" And then the writer was like, "Actually, not. No, it's kind of like a Bon Jovi concert.
Right.
That's how big it is, And they were talking, they interviewed one of Offspring's friends that kind of grew up with them. And he's like, and his attitude was like, yeah, you mainstream fucks come out like once every few years, like something pops up and you guys are interested, and then you go back and go to your next fashion party and like your next thing. But like us real punk rockers, we're here forever. Like, and you guys will just like take it in just once in a while, and then it just goes back underground. And, that's kind of what it is. It's like there's always people who are dedicated to like something they're passionate about that is not available in the mainstream, and they dedicate their lives to it, and there's moments where for whatever confluence of reasons or the stars aligning, like something just becomes huge, and I think the unique thing is, with Midtown, we saw that happen, and then we saw it happen again kind of when Midtown, then I did Cobras. The last tour that Midtown did was opening for Fall Out Boy, and that just gave me a lot of revelations because I was seeing the same thing happen again that I had experienced at the beginning of Midtown, like 4 years later, I'm like, it's happening again. And it just kind of goes in cycles. There's just these moments where like everything just starts popping up and everyone becomes interested in something. And then it just goes, I think Mark Twain said history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. So I think we're just in another part of that rhyme. So I think what I feel really lucky about is I just got to be a part of that, right? Like it's all about just like, you get the baton, you carry it for a while, and then you pass it on. And that's like, so I feel very privileged that I was a part of that tradition, because it's a tradition, it's a culture.
You're also part of history, right? Like at this point, you're like now a part of history. Like if we were to do a documentary on the culture that we grew up listening to, you are in that. You like, does that like feel like a strange thing to be like, oh yeah, I had my part in what changed? Like how
I think that's a little strange, because when I look at like my heroes, like or like like someone like Ian MacKaye. So for me as a kid, Ian MacKaye, or like or like Civ or something, like those were guys. Especially Ian MacKaye, like he kind of did the same thing. He kind of created two scenes. He started straight edge, and then afterwards he started post punk and did Fugazi.
Yeah.
And it's like he did that kind of, I mean, with his friends and stuff, but like two different things that were all kind of like they shared a theme of like being counterculture, but very different energies. One was about like just fucking being young and being aggressive and very, very, very physical, and then the other one was more about like moving the art in a different direction. So well, that's that part's a little weird for me to wrap my head around, to be honest.
And you did that with Midtown, and then when you moved over to Cobra, and I gotta look, this is where I get very honest. I was doing a lot of drugs during when you started Cobra.
So then you would have loved Cobra Starship.
I know. Yeah, what's very funny if you, I'm sure. Did you Google your boss before you got a job there? Okay, so when you Google Cobra Starship, it's like Gabe went to the desert and did drugs and then started Cobra Starship, is what it says on Wikipedia, which is a very, very. But so I missed the whole thing. But what's crazy about this is Cobra Starship is one of the most requested things that we get at Emo Nite. Right. And whenever you come, just like at Pop In or do anything, people are so goddamn excited to see it. Like, I mean, it's really, really, really a wild thing. And I think that whenever I tell anybody that I'm talking to you or you are coming or doing any of this thing, the most requested thing is like, what is happening with Cobra Starship? And so and I'm gonna say, I don't know, man. And I don't know if I want to ask him because I don't think if anybody knows what the future holds for anything. But if I could ask that question, and I feel like a lot of people do want to know, what is there a future? What is happening with Cobra Starship?
I mean, I'd be honest, nothing's happened with Cobra Starship. I think that, which doesn't mean it will never happen.
Yeah,
it's just, my whole attitude about all this stuff, what I've learned like in this journey is you got to just let things come to you. You can't force it. You can't force a record to come out. You can't force art. Like, and that's how I treat my artists too. I'm like, okay, if you don't feel inspired, you need time, like go do it. I'm not going to force you. Like, I'll go work on something else. Like, and some people get that, some people don't get that, but I think to maintain longevity, if you try to force something, you end up creating like the opposite pressure in the wrong direction later, So, and I think, by the way, I think that's also what cut the life of Cobra Starship short. It just was so fast, so much pressure. And then at some point the whole thing just burst. So, I don't have anything to report about Cobra Starship. I mean, the only thing that I will say for me is that even though Cobra Starship was like a project that I started by myself, it really became a band.
Right.
And it was about like the vibe of this group of people together that, what was the point of Cobra Starship? The point of Cobra Starship was like, no matter what's happening in your life, like you can get together with your friends and just have a great time and forget about that stuff. Even if you're just at a show for one night. I mean, that's what you do. That's what Emo Nite is, right? And it's like, you come together and just like whatever's happening, it's just like, it doesn't really matter. So that vibe just needs to be there for me. That's like the most important thing. If that vibe's not there, there's no reason to do it.
Okay, well, I answered the question, so everybody can shut the fuck up. Or I asked the question, so everybody shut up. But and if it,
I don't know if I gave you an answer. I kind of gave you a non-answer.
Dude, you absolutely gave me an answer.
Was that an answer? Yeah,
dude, it's 100% an answer because if I have so many questions that I wrote. By the way, this may be the only interview that I've prepared for, except for maybe the first one, right? Like the first interview I did. And
who was your first interview?
Pierce the Veil. Oh, wow. Can you tell that I'm a little bit nervous?
No, you're not nervous at all. You're so relaxed. You're not even looking at your questions. We're just talking, bro.
I know,
like two bros.
Look, I know, but I am. It's the new studio.
Is this the first interview in the studio?
This is the first interview in the studio. I think that's why I'm a little nervous.
Well, here's a funny thing about Nicki Minaj is that song. Starships is her song, right? Starships, women. That's her song, right? Yeah, he doesn't even know.
Let's check that.
Let's fact check that.
Let's check that.
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. So that song I think was actually written for Cobra Starship, and that's what I'm saying. Like Cobra Starship got so big in the pop world, there was like people throwing songs at us, that we didn't know. And someone, I guess, like threw that song. I don't even know if I actually heard it, but it ended up not getting through whatever kind of approval process goes through. And then that's how Nicki took it.
Dude, do you want to know? So
I don't think it would have been a good song for Cobra Starship, but just by the way, even though it was a huge song, I think we would have killed our career earlier.
Dude, but the reason that I don't think so. But
can you imagine playing Starships at Emo Nite? I don't know.
Yes,
really,
I absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you done it? Really?
I'm sure that somebody has done it somewhere. Yeah. But like the reason why I'm like you're not talking about forcing shit is like and why I was like, I prepared for this. I haven't asked any questions.
Yeah.
Right. Like I haven't asked anything, and I never will force anything. And I think that that's the way to be in general as a person and especially as an artist.
Amen.
right? Because if you have to force, like, I know that there's a lot of third and fourth albums that people sign like contracts for, and they have to push it out, and that's when bands and artists like lose their steam because they're like they are forced to do these things. Like the first and second album are always really fucking wild. Did you run into that shit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of my things is I always have said I feel like bands only have 3 good albums in them, and you know sometimes that's like a rule of thumb, and there's exceptions to that, obviously, but. You know, it's like you have your whole life to write your first album, then your second album, you're just riding that wave. And then the third album, maybe you try and do something different, and you have to like kind of reinvent yourself by then. And even if it works, you just don't know where to go after that. You know, that's what happened with Midtown. You know,
dude. But I mean,
that's what happened to Refused,
dude. It's one of those things though. But like those 2 bands, you know, you could probably name a couple other ones, but I stuck with them the entire time. Like entire time, and I was like, oh, I will listen to this over and over and over again until I love this. And now I'm back, and I really,
really,
yeah, dude.
I can't, I don't know. Maybe it's me. I don't have like I love Saves the Day. It's one of my favorite.
I know the exact example I was gonna fucking say.
All right, but this is in academic Judaism. You call this a machlokes, which is
God bless you.
It is a disagreement between 2 sages. So let's talk about it. I think. After Stay What You Are, In Reverie was the next one, right?
In Reverie was the next one.
I could not get into that record. I tried. I could not get into it.
There are a couple. Look, you know how there was Cancel It Down, Through Being Cool, and Stay What You Are.
Yeah.
The first 3, the perfect albums. Like,
by the way, I know like
perfect.
every word to every song on all those 3 records. Like to go from that and I can't name you a song on In Reverie.
See, the thing is, I can, and it was because I loved those. I loved that band so much that I was willing to grow with them. And I also, even when I was really young, I was like, how can people stay the same? You can't. You always want to go back to the thing that you love, and you want artists to be like, do that again. That's the way I feel about Turnover. I just want Turnover to make Peripheral Vision again. They're not going to, because they're fucking growing up and they're getting older and they're learning new things and experimenting, and it would be unfair of me to be like, do the thing that I want you to do again.
Right.
There's only a couple of artists where like you're one of them. Saves the Day is one of them. Refused, again, like I love all those
I'm not one of them. I haven't made a 4th album.
You said you're like fucking no, you are. You said what?
No. That's what I'm saying.
What'd you say? 2 albums?
You have 3 good albums in you.
Oh,
so I made 3 albums with Midtown. Okay, I'm kind of lying a little bit because I'm trying to pretend like a Cobra album doesn't exist, but there's a 4th Cobra album that sucks. And
do you know it sucks? Did you go into it being like, this sucks?
Yes, it sucks for many reasons. I didn't want to make it. We were like, exactly. We were kind of like, we're like riding this wave. We just come off a big hit of Good Girls Go Bad. We put out a single that becomes a hit before the album's out. It's like, okay, you got to put an album out around the single, and like you're just rushed to make an album. We like literally made it in like the basement of my building in New York, which had like no windows. We didn't use any like real producers to work on it. Yeah, it's shitty. We made a shitty record. But there's some like decent stuff, and it just wasn't. It's not a fully fleshed out idea. And like the great thing about art is when you like really like flesh it out and work on it and tweak it and like, you know, really figure out what it is. It's rushed. It's not that good. Song selection's not that good. It's not yeah.
But I mean, like I think that there's some.
You don't even know what it is. It's not a good 4th album. No one has a good 4th. I mean, maybe there are exceptions, but for the most part,
I agree with you. That I agree with you. Yeah. But I can't dislike an artist for trying to continue to grow. But it is God hard, forbid. Dude. 4 albums are fucking. It's a lot. How do you? All right, and then you. All right, let's hop. Let's.
I think Fall Out Boy have actually been good at it. You know,
dude. All of their the album, the song that they just a couple songs that they
really
just put
great.
out.
Really great. The second one, I can't remember the name of it, but the second one's even better than the first one.
It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Dude,
the video was amazing.
And it's wild because, you know, usually when an artist like that puts out a song now, they get shit on. The internet loved this. And which is crazy. Same thing with Skrillex. He hadn't done anything for a while. Did so much in the last week. Everybody was fucking so pumped. And it's really rare. And I think that's that at least for me, when you're such a fan of something, I'll like it kind of regardless, and I will stand up for it regardless, even if I don't think it's like that great. I don't think all of the Saves the Day albums are that great, but there are songs that I can name and know by name off of like their 5th or 6th or 7th.
I was going through Fall Voice Spotify the other day, just
Yeah.
looking at the catalogs and the release, and I think they took like 3 5-year hiatuses in their career. There's like 3 times where there's 5 years between albums, you know? And I think that's, if you want to have longevity, you got to give yourself that space. Otherwise, you can't create longevity. It's just like go, 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 go. You're going to burn out. And that's what happens, I think, to a lot of artists. And I think that's, if there's anything that I try to just teach my artists, it's just like, don't put yourself under pressure. It's just like artists put themselves under more pressure than they need to be on, you know? They do it to themselves more than anybody does it to them.
We do.
Yeah.
I think that we can say like very, very, that's a very fair statement, because you want to make the best thing, and you're like, and forcing somebody to be creative you can't teach it. It's not something you can teach. You can teach like the basics of, like, you can learn how to do Photoshop, you can learn how to play guitar, but you can't teach somebody how to fucking write an awesome song. It's just like being an awesome radio host.
Yeah.
You can't teach somebody how to do that. Which by the way, dude, this is very, very funny. We were looking at this before you came in. They now have AI radio.
No way.
Yeah. It's fucking hysterical.
Where a person's talking?
Yeah.
That's so whack.
It's like localized, which you want to know.
Into it.
You want to know what I did?
Yeah.
I asked AI to ask you some questions.
Oh yeah? Let's hear them.
Yeah, do you want to hear? Some of them are good. Some of them
let's
are,
hear.
they're super
Which AI system do you use? ChatGPT?
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It
It's
was
pretty
like,
good, ChatGPT.
dude, it's not bad. I mean, there were 2 that I did, that I thought was that were pretty decent. Not all of them are good. The first one was, what type of impact did your involvement with My Chemical Romance have on your career? From AI. Is that a bad... Now you tell me if that's a bad question or a good question, because that's an AI question. I didn't write it.
I think it's a good topic to talk about, but it's just like the phrasing of it is so bad. It feels like a test question.
It's a robot question.
Yeah.
Because that's what it
but
is.
I think the whole thing is it's not supposed to feel like a robot, right? So I think that feels very robotic. But yeah, I think the My Chem thing is interesting to talk about, but I feel like I've talked about it enough.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit about it.
Okay, cool.
Like we all know. You can look at that up elsewhere.
Yeah.
This I actually liked. Hold on, let's see another one. Where I highlighted him. It's also robotic, but it does the thing that I want it to do.
Yeah.
Is that what inspired you to start Tag? That it is like the most hack robotic question ever, but I feel like it's an appropriate question.
Yeah, do you want to actually talk about it?
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure.
I want you to talk about it because I also want you to talk about your artists and rank them in your favorite order from favorite to worst.
I'm definitely not going to do that. But I think that, and this goes back, I guess, to what we were talking about before. Like, what did I want to do? I wanted to play shows like Avail played. I just wanted to go on tour and play for like 400 kids. And then after I did that when I was young, and I'm like, cool, what am I going to do now? And it's like, well, I just actually discovered that there's actually a whole business here, right? Maybe I can learn about this, right? And like, can this actually be a way to make a living and like not have to like go back to school and get a job? And that's the choice I had to make. When Midtown was over, I was like 23. I was like, am I going to go back to school, or am I going to like try and figure out how the business works? And I had a friend who was just like, if you just get out of your own way, like you could be successful. And so I got out of my own way, I learned the business. And how did I learn the business? How did I get out of my own way?
No, let's both. Were you doing a bunch of wild shit and you had to calm down a little bit?
I wasn't doing wild shit. I think I was just I was a passionate kid, but I was also, let's just say in my, as I've grown,
let's just say
I've learned more diplomacy.
You were also 23.
Right.
Like anybody, how old are you guys?
27.
I'm 22.
You're 22?
That's why he doesn't know what descendants are.
That's why he's a social media manager.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, like when I was 23, I was a fucking nightmare, dude. I would never have been able to start anything. I had to learn how to calm down, and I mean, I'm a little bit not calmed down, but I'm much better than I was.
I just would get into. I'm very passionate, and I have a lot of ideas, and I was less tolerant of other people's input. Let's put it that way, right? So I was. It was the way that I wanted to do it, and it had to be this way, and I just wouldn't. And it's funny because I observe some of that in artists today, and I see how it can really hold you back. And I think that what my friend was saying was like, oh, I see you're just holding yourself back. Like, people believe in you, like they're here for you, and they're just, you're just holding yourself back by arguing about everything. You can't argue about everything, right? It's also a very Jewish quality, just arguing.
I could literally argue about anything. There's somebody
That's why you're a talk show host.
Dude, there's somebody that calls me just to argue. They're like, I'm going to give you a point and you're going to tell me the opposite point.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's just like it's just the way it goes. But I mean, I understand. Like,
but time and place for that, you know? I mean, I think if, you know, like join a debate club or something, you know, right? So it's like, so I think that it just gets tiring, especially when people are trying to build something with you. They're trying to build a business with you, right? So you can't have that attitude. If you want to, it's like also, it's just like learning to work with people, right? Which also is not, there's an art to that, but it's also not, if you want to do your truest form of art and really just follow your whims, your artistic whims, wherever they take you, you can't compromise at all, you know? And I think that when we did Forget What You Know with Midtown, we made a record that we didn't compromise at all on any part of it. We did it outside. We weren't signed when we made that record. We just made it. And then we got a deal and we're like, here's the record. This is it, you know? And that was really rewarding to do that, you know? And it was financial disaster. It didn't, you know, it was a failure, right? You know, from like a success point of view.
You got my 1699 or
probably not then, maybe later on. Later on it found its audience, but when it came out, it just didn't have a place to fit. No one understood the record, which was fine. It was like I remember when we were making that record, we said, we don't care if nobody listens to this, as long as it's something that we're still going to be proud of in 20 years, that's success to us. And we did that. So I'm like, cool. That was our goal. We accomplished that. We said we wanted to make something that we were proud of, that we didn't compromise, and we did it. And like 20 years later, it holds up. And I'm like, that's amazing. It's an amazing accomplishment. So then the question is, okay, where do I go now? And so I could have just been like, cool, I accomplished my artistic goals. You know, that you can't feed yourself from that. You can't feed yourself making records that no one wants to listen to. So I was like, okay, am I going back to school? Or my friend's like, why don't you just try and get out of your way and see how far you can go, like understanding what this business is and understanding, you know. The other thing I tell artists too is that there's just like art and commerce are like diametrically opposed, and there's no like comfortable intersection. There just isn't. They're always going to be fighting each other. The wants of art are always going to be fighting the invisible hand of commerce. It's always going to be at odds. So you just have to, as an artist who wants to have a career, you have to figure out how to walk this tightrope every day.
No, it's a compromise now.
It's an everyday balancing act.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like just one day you'll be like, okay, cool, I got it. It's like, no, every day you have to like reevaluate, re-understand, because you're going to get pulled in different directions every day. So, but if you have your head focused on, okay, cool, I want to win. What does winning mean to you? Like, to me, winning is like, can I like support myself from doing what I love, right? Like, that's like the dream, right? That's what I guess anyone who makes art wants to be able to do. Want to be able to make art and not worry about making money. Right?
So you started Tag.
So start Cobra Starship. So and then Cobra Starship became big, and then so I learned like how to do that.
Like, did you have some money? You had some money after Cobra Starship?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much money an artist gets back then. How much money do you have? Like $20,000?
23 at least. Yeah. But no, I mean, dude, Cobra Starship had hits. Like, you have to understand.
I know. And that was at the time when people were buying albums and putting.
They were not buying albums. If I would have made that at the time that people were buying albums, either 10 years earlier or 10 years later, I'd be so fucking rich. But I can live, you know. So that's a good thing. So
did you make more money off of touring with Cobra?
Did I make more money off of touring Cobra?
Like, how did you start Tag with the money that you got from Cobra?
Well,
and if it's too personal, you don't have to answer. But I want you to answer. Please.
First of all, I saved a lot of money.
You're good at that.
Are you
good at?
Bro,
P&Ls,
we have
balancing.
Not on P&Ls. I'm very good at investing. Thank God. So we have a thing on Fridays at Tag that I try to institute called Financial Freedom Fridays, where I'm trying FFF. Try to teach the kids how, you know, what to do with their money so that they can like start being able to have financial freedom, so that they don't have to depend on a Tag job or any job at some point in their lives. But, you know, again, because I was like a poor immigrant, I had nothing. My parents just ingrained that in me at a young age, you know. I remember there was like a story of like when we lived in Springfield, New Jersey, our neighbor, and we lived like in a blue collar neighborhood, and our neighbor lost his job, and my dad's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, oh, it's okay. I have everything. I have money saved. I'm going to be fine. You know, and my dad just always told me how important that was, just to like learn how to save, how to invest. And, you know, also like, I mean, it gets complicated.
Yeah, but-
we can have a Financial Freedom Fridays podcast separate
I would
aside, but
absolutely love to. Do you tell them just not to buy Postmates like all the time?
just put all your money in crypto. GameStop to the moon.
What's like the biggest takeaway? And I'm talking off camera to some people that work with you.
Yeah,
What are some of the biggest takeaways that you get from Financial Freedom Fridays from Gabe?
So what has it? We kind of stopped it, but Karina, I've told Karina some stuff.
Yeah,
But
I don't think I can disclose that information though.
Oh, is it like company stuff?
Well, it's like triple F, like you just have to be there.
Okay, so it's a thing that you have to have one thing, because I want to know. I know what. Look, if you look at how much money I spend on like this every day, is like $750, but it's also like my quality.
right.
Of
I mean,
life.
that's like your cash flow, like, you know, and like I think it's just a mentality. You know, being financially free is a mentality, right? Like it's a mentality of not wanting to be a slave, right? But you have to use the tools of slavery, right? We exist in the system that it's set up to enslave us, you know? So how do we get around that? We like skirt the system by learning to save, by learning how to not fall for like consumption, right?
I really like fuck the man Fridays.
Yeah, fuck the man Friday.
That's like really what it sounds like, and I really like that you do that with the.
So people are like, "Oh, have you taken your kid to Disneyland?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going to take my kid to Disneyland. I don't want him to just be a sucker for consumerism. Like right away, just ingrain that in them. Like you have to buy, you have to go, you have to do that. Like no, you don't have to do all these things, you know." So I think that's just part of like, just like, I think that's an independent mentality.
Yeah,
like, I'm an independent person. I like independent music. I root for underdogs. Like that's just how I think. You know, and I think that having success comes from that. It doesn't come from like, oh, I have a good job, so I get success. It's like you can have a great job and you can blow all your money, and then you're going to be broke and you're going to be also enslaved. Like you have to really have the mentality of like using that to set yourself up for freedom.
You know who's really good at that?
Who?
TJ's really good at that.
Is he even Jewish?
No. Well,
dude, you're such a shame on our people.
I know. No, you want to know what? I'm actually okay. I'm okay.
No,
at
I think you're okay. I think you're just playing the part.
I'm okay at it. I'm like fine. I'm
good.
fine at it. But he's much better than I am at it. Like he's very good on that end. Wait, I want to talk about a little bit. How do you find the artists on Tag now? Because it used to be so different. Like I used to have to go out to shows to find artists that I like. Do they come to you? Are you going out, or are you like, do you have a team of people that are seeking out new?
Bro, like everything great that's ever happened in my life, it's like the universe gives it to you. I don't know why. So we have this band that we signed from Argentina called Pacifica. They don't have any music out yet. We've been working on their album. We just got their album last week, and we're like, wow, this is probably one of the greatest debut albums we ever heard from a band. Like, you know, so, and how did I find them? Literally, like after an ayahuasca ceremony, I'm like really connected.
This is the second. How many of those have you done?
Oh, I've been doing this since 2007. I've done like
I want to do one.
A couple hundred. Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Wait, do you barf a bunch?
I don't really barf that much.
Is it? It's a common knowledge that you like if you take it, you throw up, and then you're good, right?
Yeah. It's so funny. Like when people talk about ayahuasca, the first thing they talk about is like barfing. It's even if you if you barf in a ayahuasca ceremony, which I would say like probably like. For me now, I maybe will barf like one every 5 ceremonies,
right?
You know, but most people like for new people, it's like half of them do, half of them don't. You know, it's not a big deal. But even if you do barf, it's 3 minutes out of a 4-hour thing. It's not like the ceremony isn't about barf. It's not a barfing ceremony, you know. But it's funny. It's like the first thing people talk about.
I want to go to that.
We don't go to barf. I mean,
dude, did you ever play? I don't know. Ipecac. What is it called? Ipecac. Ipecac? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What is it?
Ipecac.
So we used to do this thing when we were in
They both knew what it was.
Yeah, I know. So we used to do this thing, we call it Ipecac, like pizza, where you'd put it on a slice of pizza, spin it around, and then everybody had to eat the pizza. And
what's Ipecac?
Ipecac is something that they give you medically to make you throw up. Like it like makes you throw up almost immediately. So if we'd sit in a circle, somebody would, this is what drunk teenagers would do. You'd put it on a piece of pizza, spin it around, then somebody would have to take it, and then you would sit there and it's almost instantaneous, and then they throw up, and that's it's like Ipecac roulette.
Wow, I love that.
Let's go back to the band. Let's go back.
So literally, I'm like feeling really connected to the universe, and I just on my app, on my phone, I don't even go on YouTube that much. I just open up YouTube and I get this video of these two young women doing some song, and that was like their first video they ever posted. I'm just like, wow, there's like something here. And I just spoke to them, reached out, and like they were just like, they had just met. That was like the first thing they posted. I randomly saw it. They're in Argentina. Like, I'm telling you, like, you know, like people don't believe in God. They need to look at the algorithm. The algorithm really, you know, like the algorithm. I'm just kidding, kind of. But
Dude, you can think about something and then want it. It's weird in this, and it's a strange feeling.
It is an echo of the power of the universe. Like, why did it give that to me? You know? And then we reached out and we just started talking, and they just started doing it. Everything's just been falling into place, and they just wrote this amazing record. And during the process, we've been growing them on social media, and they have like 100,000 followers on all their platforms. And, you know, we're going to launch this band with like a great setup, a great record. So yeah, I don't know how I found that. It just came to me, you know?
Well, it's
and then I don't know how they decided to go with us.
Right.
You know?
Do you think that they had like a ton of other offers, or do you think that
they didn't exist, bro? The band did not exist. It was like, you know, they came to New York. This is what happened. They came to New York. They like loved the Strokes. They came to New York to see the Strokes, or, you know, and they had like some kind of fan base, and they decided to play like a show at Arlene's Grocery, and there was like some people came out, and I wasn't there. I was in LA, but I just spoke to them, and, you know, and then like, yeah, we're going to do this. I'm like, cool, let's do it. Yeah. That was it. They had no other offers to anyone. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like you've been pretty on the mark for things that have been successful in general, right? Like you just, I mean, what you were talking about, you're like, you can see ahead a little bit. You are planning financial freedom Fridays, but with creative shit also, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think we've got? You know, you hadn't been down. Cobra Starship sounded very different. Tag. What in the next couple of years? What do you think is going to be like the next thing? Do you have something in your head?
I think this, you know, it's this rock resurgence is, we're just at the beginning of it. I talked about this before, you know, like, again, it's like a cycle that comes back. So I think, let me see, remember, I was thinking about it before, and I was like, okay, Green Day came out in like the late 90s. Then like Sum 41 was like 98, 99. Like Fall Out Boy didn't come out until 2003. They started 2004. 2006, 7 is when they were big. Like, we're like at Sum 41 right now. Like,
I know.
MGK is Sum 41. We got another 10 years on this. You know? So I think it's really exciting. It's exciting also because, like, you know, by the time I did Cobra Starship, I mean, I really love aspects of electronic music. What I don't like is just like the zero words and just like the doom, 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 taking drugs, and just like, you know, like in a huge festival, like at like a Sound and Lights show. Like, I don't like that. But
have you been
to festivals like that?
Yeah.
It's not my vibe. So it's just not for me. Like, you know, I want something deeper. I want a culture. Like,
right.
you know, I loved Ed Banger records.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of electronic. I loved, like, you know, the Cinespace Party in LA. Like, I loved Misshapes. Like, that's like the electronic stuff I loved. Like, you know,
did you like Justice?
I love Depeche Mode. I love Justice.
Yeah.
You know, so I love like the electronic music that has like comes from kids that made punk rock when they were younger, right? Like, that I love. So, and that's where Cobra Starship borrowed a lot from. But because we were doing electronic music, we had electronic elements and we came from the punk scene. It was, you know, and then the whole like David Guetta thing blew up at the same time Cobra Starship was happening. And LMFAO, which was like, you know, it was, you know.
Dude, it was like the epitome. We were just talking about this like before, you know, like how Cocaine Bear is coming out. Like, it has probably no purpose, right? Like, it has no purpose except to entertain you. Mm-hmm. LMFAO is a perfect artist to just be like, we're having fun and entertaining you. I wasn't learning anything from them. I was just listening to, like, it was just
right.
You know, and I feel like we're moving a little bit towards that. Like, did you see The Menu? The movie?
No,
it was like a movie. I didn't learn anything from it.
I don't know what that is.
It just entertained me for an entire like hour and it's a good movie. But like now I feel like we're getting back into things that are just there for entertainment, and as opposed to trying to teach me a fucking lesson.
I think that's always been there. I think that what happens is, like, again, something comes from the underground because people are looking for more than entertainment. So they create something that's authentic, that has a message, and it's just pure. It gets bigger. And I think you could say that's what Cobra Starship was. It's like, hey, we have like this these entry points, these tips of the spears that people can appeals to everyone, to moms, to people around the world. It's just like a fun song, right? And then you dig in, and we're like a gateway drug to this whole universe, right? Which I loved being that. That was great for me, you know. But with an LMFAO, you don't get that. Right?
No,
you just get the the high, and you don't get anything to dig into afterwards. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fine when it's LMFAO. It comes from that world, and it's that world. It's never been anything but that. I think it's more difficult when like a band comes from the underground and then they lose the connection to like being the gateway to something else. You know, to help introduce kids to music and, you know, ideas, right? That's what music is supposed to be about. It's supposed to introduce you to ideas.
And I think that we do have to wrap up like kind of soon, but I do want to talk about two more important things,
right.
not joke things.
Just wow.
I mean, I could do we could do a Type 5 right now. I could do my Type 5 stand-up bit for you, but I'm not going to. TJ and I taught a class at USC. Actually,
Type 5 is that like a stand-up thing? Like
it's like it's like a Type 5.
5 minutes?
Yeah, it's like a tight 5 minute.
Bro,
thing.
you're so Hollywood. I don't know what that is. That's the first time I heard that. But.
It's crazy that you don't know these two. I feel like you know way more shit than me, and I can't believe you've never heard of the menu. It was like huge for a fucking week.
The menu? I don't know what that is. Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, gotta listen to these cuts.
Is it a movie?
Yeah, it's a movie.
Is it out in the theaters or streaming? What?
It's so good.
It's good?
It's great because it.
Did you see Andor, by the way?
Excuse me?
Did you see Andor?
And/or?
No. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like that's unbelievable. It's like one of the best things I've seen. It's Star Wars.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's a Star Wars offshoot on Disney Plus, like a episodic series, like 9 episodes. Amazing.
Okay.
It's no menu apparently, but okay.
Let's go back.
That's what I watch.
Let's go back.
Okay.
TJ and I taught a class last week at USC for some reason. They were like,
about how to put together your Type 5?
No, that was my second class. That was that was my second class. No, and it was in music. It was like music business class. We were just like
nice.
they looked us up. They asked us all these questions, and one of I'll tell
with Kaminsky.
No, with Kevin.
Cool.
And it's like a hack question, but I thought it was like a really good question. It was like, how do you start getting in? Because I feel like a lot of them asked this. It was like, how do you start getting into music if you want to be in music right now?
As an artist or on the business side?
It was both. It was like a both thing, but I think this was more on the business side.
I think on the business side, you just have to be like, dude, when I was a kid, I interned at Caroline Records. I had a shit job. I was in the production and design department. It has nothing to do with any artist or creative. And I was literally in charge of like filling out Excel spreadsheet of like what's in storage, bringing back from storage, like when there was like physical stuff. But I got to be at a fucking cool record company, you know? And, you know, I remember the one time Sebadoh played in the office. I was like, wow, sick. You know, so I just think you just have to just expose yourself and just make yourself available. Like if you have to come in with the attitude, again, it's all mentality. You want to be successful, you have to come into the attitude of how am I going to add value? That's it. And I think a lot of times people are always going into any relationship or situations like, what can I get out of this? Mm-hmm. And I think that when you have, and I think we're taught to think that way. And I don't think that's actually good long-term. You might get something bigger in the short term, but you're not going to get to keep it. If you want to keep long-term success, you have to always be giving more than you take.
I think that was the exact answer that Kevin Lyman gave.
I thought you were going to say, oh, that's what I said too.
No. Dude, basically what I said, the one question that I got was somebody was like, you look like shit. Has it ever been they're like, you look like shit. Has it ever been a problem for you?
Do you ever think about paying someone to cut your hair?
Yeah, no, they were just like, has it ever been an issue when you go anywhere? Like you look all fucked up. They didn't say it like that, but that's how I took it. They're like, it was like I like your tattoos and this thing, but I heard it as you look like shit. Has it ever fucked you up?
That's really funny, bro.
All right, let's do some plugs.
What was the other question? So there's 2 questions.
Maybe. Maybe there are. Maybe there aren't.
I thought I was going to give you a tattoo today. I have a tattoo. Do you want
to give me a tattoo?
Yeah, sure.
I want to. This will be great because when I die, you can post the picture of this and be like, I knew him look, he's got a tattoo on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which I will inevitably die before you.
No, God forbid.
I wanted to ask, do you get the same rush as when you're working in business as you did when you were playing in front of the biggest audiences in a band? Because I really, really like music business. I like business. I like it a lot. And it makes me feel really good when I do a thing that I believe in and that gets pushed through, even though it's like, especially when there's a lot of people pushing back at me. And I remember the same feeling playing in front of like, when we did Coachella, right? Like I was like, holy shit, like this is amazing. But also at the same time, I get that feeling when we get to do something creative on the side that isn't on a stage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's very analogous to being in a band. Like having a small business is like you're in a band. You're kind of all in a band together and you're working out. But, don't forget like that when you're in a band, like 90% of the time, everything sucks except for like the 30 minutes that you're on stage, right? And I remember saying that when I was in a band, I'm like, oh, everything sucks. It's just like, you're just living for these moments. And that's actually not a bad thing. It's like what we're doing is we are living to try to create these great moments that impact your life forever and are memorable, right? That's what music is about. It's not just the recording. Like, yeah, there's like a moment when you hear something for the first time, but then you go see it live and you're like, wow, like, and you connect with people. So like you're creating these moments. So yeah, a lot of the stuff sometimes can get trivial or whatever, but I think that, just knowing the back of your head that what the goal is and what you're building and what the potential is, I think it makes it fun. And also like, at this point, like, not to sound, like I say this nicely.
I'm going to let you work this out.
I'm pretty good at what I do, right?
Yeah.
So it's fun to do stuff that you're good at, and it's good also like when you're good and you learn something new, it's actually more fun, so I enjoy it. Like I really enjoy the business part of it. I also think again, like, it's like you got to do a deal, right? You got to do a business deal. And what's going to make that deal different is again, your mentality, right? If your mentality is, I want to try and get as much as possible from this person to do the deal, you're going to have a different experience, and the person working with you is going to, on the other side of the deal, is going to have a different experience. But if your mentality is like, I just want to create a win-win situation, right? You're going to approach doing deals differently. So like, I love doing deals. I love doing business, but I love doing it with the mentality that I think that I have that's unique.
Do you think this was a good interview?
I think it was a great interview, bro. I think we could go for hours.
I
felt like we were just getting started. I just looked at my watch. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
We could, and you can come back whenever you want. Like I thought.
Thanks,
did you think this was a good interview? Everybody has to say yes.
Yes.
Sewell's a little scared to talk. He's scared to say the wrong thing.
In your honest opinion.
Oh, I thought it was great.
If Gabe,
see what I got to deal with this guy? Yeah, I thought.
Say literally anything, it cracks him up.
If Gabe was not here and it wasn't Gabe, would you think that this was a good interview with somebody that you know or don't know?
No, I genuinely thought it was a good interview. I learned so many things. Like I didn't know he was poor too. That's crazy.
We learned you were poor.
Yeah, I was poor when I was younger.
Do you want to give me a tattoo really quick? Or do you have to go?
Yeah, I kind of have to go, but I kind of.
I can set it up super quick, but we don't have to.
I want to make it nice though.
It's not going to be nice. I'm going to let you know regardless.
All right, let's do it. I will give you a tattoo the next time I come back.
Okay.
Here. So that way I'll come back here so we'll do a tattoo because I got to be somewhere at 2:00. I didn't realize what time.
Yeah, and we're far as fuck.
Yeah.
I really thank you for being the first interview on here.
Thank you for having me. Starships meant to fly. Are you guys allowed to play music on this show, or is it just talk?
I'm gonna play music. Do you want to send me a couple songs that you want me to play later? Because I
want you to play the Know It All. We should have talked about this. So the EP, the Midtown EP, everyone's like, put out new music, and we're like, no, we're too old to write new songs. So yeah, you know about it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so it's called We're Too Old to Write New Songs.
It's not out yet, though, is it?
No, the first song's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Know It All, Lagwagon. We covered Lagwagon. It's fucking sick. I'll send it to you. You can play. You can be the first. When would this air?
I was going to air the audio tonight.
Oh, sick.
And
we'll play the song. It's out tonight. It's literally out tonight.
If it gets on the thing, I will do my best to play it tonight.
What, if it gets on the service?
Sometimes
the ingestion.
Sometimes the ingestion.
9 p.m. It'll be available 9 p.m. It's already out in New Zealand.
Okay. we'll see if we
Try
can
and
get
play
it.
it. Have your tech people talk to my tech people.
Look, either way, I want you to send me a couple songs because I do want to play some songs that you want me to play.
Oh, we should play Anita too. And now we're talking about Pacifica.
Just send me as many.
Oh, we'll send you some shit.
Send me as much shit as you want me to play because I feel like this is a really like our audience is incredibly engaged and they want to learn new things and
Sick.
it's good. And then like the video will come out.
Hi guys, I love you.
And he does.
Sarah.
I feel like he very, very, very much does. Except you.
I'm very tough, but I'm a Cancer moon.
I don't know.
Just means I'm.
What does that mean?
I'm very soft on the inside.
I know.
Yeah.
You got the good Jewish genes. You're tall and
I
handsome.
don't know where that comes from, but yeah.
Okay. We
We're out.
gotta go.
Let's get the fuck
Thank
outta
you
here.
so much. I really do
Thanks for
appreciate
having me,
it. Dude, I could gas you up for a while, but wait, what's your favorite Midtown song?
Fuck, bro. I'm a Libra. It's so hard for me to choose.
Give me one. That's the favorite one that you like. What is your favorite one? Like if you had to, like,
I really love the last song. I forget we know. It's called "So Long as We Keep Our Bodies Numb, We're Safe."
Do you want to know mine?
Yeah.
Knew it all along.
Wow.
It's Emo Nite
Do you
Radio.
want to know?
What?
Do you want to know that "Knew It All Along" was inspired by Lagwagon by a song called "Alienate"?
Let's play. See how many we can get on there.
I know.
'Cause this is
Not
gonna be a
Alienate. As you're in this search for something to hate, I can feel. What song is that called? So I just tell you the name. I can't remember the name. I could sing it and then find out the name. It's like the second song after "Alienate" on double platinum.
Okay.
So yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gabe Saporta.
Thank you.